Welcome back, guys, and today we're going to continue our discussion in drawing lines and producing illusions of volume for illustration class for grade 11. So, ako nga pala si Teacher Say, a secondary school teacher, 2 of Angeles City Senior High School, Schools Division of Angeles City. So, let's start. So for our topic for today is draw lines in producing illusions of volumes. We talked about illusions last meeting, so we'll continue with the lesson. So for our topic for today, we're going to discuss about volume, size, position or height, edges, overlap, contrast and details, horizon, perspective, colors, foreshortening, saturation, values, temperature, cast shadow, and brush strokes and marks. Let's talk about volume. So first, when we talk about volume in drawing, in illustration, there are basically two axes for it in a paper. It's the length and the width, but that is not going to be realistic enough. You need to have the depth or the z-axis to make it like a 3D figure. So you're going to play with shadows and lightings and different highlights so that, as you can see in the picture, there is illusion of a three-dimensional object even though it is drawn on a flat surface. Then we have size. Okay. According to the rules of perspective, the farther an object is, the smaller it looks. Okay, so it means when you are drawing, let's say, a large background, okay, and there are trees, for example, this one, okay, if you want to portray that this object is farther away, it's in the background, not in the midground or the foreground, then you need to make it smaller. Okay, so the smaller it is, the farther it goes. Then we have height. Objects that their base is positioned higher the painting surface will look farther. Okay, it's in conjunction with the size earlier. Okay, so let's say it's in a mountain, it's farther away, so you need to make it smaller, okay, and a little bit higher. Then edges, okay, the farther your object is from the foreground, the smoother the edges is, while the nearer the object is from your perspective, or let's say it's in the foreground, your edges are sharp. When we say sharp, it's a bit detailed than soft. Overlap, okay? A body of concealing part of another body indicates that the body is hiding is farther away. So again, let's say you're drawing for example, buildings, okay? The farther it gets from the initial building, the front one, it should be overlapped. It depends on how the perspective is. If you're in a one you're looking straight on it, the ones behind should have the other qualities, like for example softer edges, farther distances, smaller this, so on and so forth, that we mentioned earlier. Okay, it simply means that they are being overlapped by the image in front of it. Contrast and details, again, just like what I mentioned earlier, the farther you get, the lesser the detail. The nearer you go, okay, the nearer you are in the foreground, the more details you get from, or you need to your illustration. Then horizon. Horizon divides your canvas into two, the top and the bottom part. Okay, so if you notice here in the sample pictures, okay, different positionings of the horizon would give you different perspectives of your drawings. Then we're talking about perspectives. Okay, perspectives have different kinds, like this one. It's a one-point perspective. So it is just like looking on something. Okay, here, if you notice the picture, it's looking straight on the road. So how you see it, that is um, how you will draw it. Like for example, just like what we're talking about earlier, the farther it gets, the smaller it goes. Okay, the less details it gets also, and the softer the edges. And we have a horizon. Okay, it divides the ground from the sky, so on and so forth. So colors. According to the rules of the atmospheric perspective, the farther an object is, the more its color or hue shift towards the background color, which is usually blue sky. So let's say it's a sunset. Okay, so if you're going to create a sunset or similar color, you will start with this color. Then the farther you get, it should be the same color as the sky. If the color is just like this, okay, or if it's other way around, it should be like this one. The farther you get, again, the more closer you are to your colors of your background. Foreshortening. Objects in front of the viewer, such as buildings, trees, mountains, people, etc., will look smaller as they are farther away. So if you notice here, okay, the perspective here, basically the head is closer to the viewer, so it's bigger. Then the feet is smaller because it's farther. The same concept with the ones we mentioned earlier. Saturation. The farther an object is, the less saturated its color will be. So it means it becomes less and less detailed. Okay, it colorful, I mean, so it becomes a little bit transparent when you go out. Then values is for pencil drawings. Okay, and it can be also used for the saturation earlier. It's the same concept as saturation, but this time around it's being used for pencils. Temperature. Again, colors indicates different kinds of temperature. So if it's hot, if you notice here, it goes for red or orange. While if it's cold, in the shades of blue. Other seasons can be symbolized by different colors. Then cast shadows. Again, we're dealing with flat objects that are going to be in a 3D shape. So it means you need to take into consideration the position of the object, the perspective of the object, plus the position of the light source. So if you notice here, if this line is your light, then your shadow should be here, not on the other side. Okay, it's basic physics for this one, or basic science, I mean. Then brushstrokes and marks. It depends on what you're going to use. Okay, so if you need detailed ones, you need larger paint brushes can be used for foreground, which means it is for more detailed one, while the smaller ones would be for the less detailed ones, which are on the background. Okay, it can be also used with technical pens. There are different thickness for your technical pens. So for activity, you're going to create a performance task on the module. Then for our next topic, drawing figures and objects. Again, just like Albert Einstein mentioned, imagination is more important than knowledge. So thank you for listening, and we'll see you again next time.